In the first few years after I had built my first online business doing digital advertising consulting, which was what I was doing in my job at the time, and built it into a six-figure business and left my job, a common question that I would get would be, how did you stay motivated enough to build your business to the point where you could leave your job? And that's what I'm going to share with you today, because this concept that I'm going to be sharing with you is so important no matter where you are in your business, but especially so if you're starting out, you are in a busy 9 to 5, you've got your life going on as well, you don't have a lot of time, you have this dream of building your own online business, but it can feel really far off and really overwhelming, and many days, maybe you don't feel as motivated as you'd like to put in the work that's going to help you make the progress that's going to let you build the business and leave your job. And so I've got a few quote unquote secrets that I'm going to share with you today. So the core concept, the spoiler alert for today's video, is that my key for continuing to have motivation is that I did not rely on my motivation. Because here's the thing. There are many aspects in my life where I do rely on motivation. One of them, maybe you're familiar with this, is going to the gym. Basically, my process is, if I feel like going to the gym, if I'm feeling super motivated to be healthy and work out, I'll go. If not, maybe I won't go. And by maybe, I mean I definitely will not go. And so I went through that process for years and years. Same thing with waking up early, right? If I'm feeling super motivated and encouraged by maybe this like CEO's daily morning routine, I'm going to try it for myself tomorrow, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But then the next day, if I'm not feeling motivated, all right, I'll sleep in a little bit. And so the number one thing from all my other areas of my life that I realized I had to do was not rely on motivation if I wanted to succeed and build my business. So what did I do instead? Here's the thing. Part of the reason why, especially when you're building your business and you're in a job and you have everything going on, motivation feels so important is because it's kind of like what you need to get over that initial hump of, where do I even start? What do I need to do? How do I figure all of this out even? And so what I did was, I have a few tips for you. The first thing is, when I was feeling motivated, which was very rare, by the way, I would use those rare moments of motivation to do the hardest work possible. So what that meant was, in the beginning, right, when I was starting out, I didn't know anything about building an online business. I used that motivation to figure out, what is it that I need to do systematically to build a business. So I would use those moments to watch the courses that I had invested in, to maybe Google or YouTube or figure out whatever additional information I needed to figure out. And then I would basically map out, okay, I know I'm not going to be feeling this motivated tomorrow. Now let me figure out my schedule for exactly what it is I need to do. So tip number one is using those rare moments of motivation and making sure you use them, you maximize them, right? To prepare you for all of the other unmotivated moments. Now, the next piece is, I really approached my business like a business. What does that mean? So, well, actually, no, let me rephrase. I didn't approach my business like a business at that point. I approached it like another job. So what do I mean by that? I mean that if you wake up one day and it's a weekday and you need to go into work, but you don't feel like it, which is most likely most case if you're watching this video and you're wanting to build a business that lets you leave your job, what do? You don't just say, oh, screw it, I'm not gonna go into work today. No, because it's a job. You go in, you do what you need to do, you be responsible, you get paid the salary in return, and you use that to pay your bills. You just do it. It doesn't, maybe occasionally you call and take a day off, but most of the time you do it, you go to your 9 to 5 or 8 to 8 or whatever hours, you show up, you do the work, whether or not you feel like it. When you think about it that way, at that time, when I was building my first online business, I started thinking about my business like another job. So it wasn't like, okay, if I don't feel like doing it, I don't do it. It was, I don't care what I feel like, it doesn't really matter, it's a job. And remember what I said for my tip number 1, using my motivated moments to plan for the unmotivated moments. What that meant was I would basically say, okay, here, like on Monday, I'm going to spend 15 minutes before I start my workday, right? So maybe I'll do it around 8 or 7 or whenever, and go and post some content online wherever my audience is. At the time for me, it was in Facebook groups. So I'm going to do that. Then after I get home in the evening, I'm going to spend 15 minutes seeing if people responded to my post and responding to them. And I'm going to do that, and that's it. That's my job for my business every day during the week. Then during the weekend, on Saturday, I'm going to batch create. I'm going to spend 2 hours and batch create all the content I need to post for the next week. So you can see, like, I really mapped it out. And what that meant was, when I was feeling unmotivated, I knew that I had to show up and do it like my job. There was no, okay, if I don't feel like doing it, I don't do it. It was, hey, I know exactly what to do. Even if I don't feel like doing it, I don't really have an excuse to be overwhelmed because I just know exactly what I need to be doing. Let me do it. So that's basically 2 tips in 1. Making sure that you schedule it so that it's like, it's just a check mark on your to-do list. It's part of your job, treating it like a job. Hey, I go here, I do this. It's like if you're at work and there's a meeting that you need to go to, but you don't feel like going, you don't skip the meeting, you just go and show up anyways. It's the exact same thing, right? So those 2 tips in 1. Then the other thing that I would do is to really kind of, the Newton's law, an object in motion stays in motion. I would find ways to build momentum for myself. And here's what I mean. I made so many mistakes trying to figure out my first online business. And one of them was I spent so much time working on my website and my blog, and I had no idea how to get myself out there. So once I stayed up until I think like 4 a.m. in the morning working on a pop-up, which I then realized wasn't even what I needed. It wasn't even a good pop-up, so I ended up not using it. Things like that make you feel like, oh yeah, I've worked so hard, but they don't really build any momentum for you. What I did was I searched for momentum generating activities. And what I mean by that is basically, think about it like this. Where there are people, that's where the energy is. So if you're sitting in front of your computer by yourself, working on your website that no one is visiting, there's no energy there. However, and this doesn't have to be physically, if you are going to some place online, right? Whether it's on a social media account, or whether it's in an online group, or it's an industry specific forum or a publication or wherever. If there are a whole bunch of people gathered there, that's where the energy is. And you want to basically kind of I don't want to say latch on, that sounds a little bit negative. Leverage that energy for yourself to build your momentum. And so what that looked like for me is, remember, I just shared with you my schedule. Let's say in the beginning, this is all I was doing because that's all I could be disciplined enough to do. Let's just be honest. So I would spend 15 minutes writing my content. Then in the evening, I would spend 15 minutes responding to people. And guess what? If it started being a back and forth where someone was like, oh, I love this. How about this? What do you think about this? That naturally generated momentum because all I had to do was respond. I didn't have to create something from scratch. I didn't have to put myself out there. It was just, okay, I'm just responding. And do you see how that's generating momentum? And the more I did that, guess what? The more people I connected with. The more people I connected with, the more people who were basically got to this point where they said, hey, you've helped me so much for free. How can I hire you? Or let's talk about what services you offer. And that's actually how I got my first paying client. I didn't have a website for digital advertising. I honestly didn't even know what I could sell. And again, this was quite a few years ago when there wasn't as much advice out there for how to start your own online coaching business. And so all I did was I did exactly that. I followed that schedule, started getting some people talking to me, asking me questions. One woman we had a back and forth for about 2 weeks where I was just like, oh my gosh, someone wants to know about what I know about ads. Okay, great. Let me just answer this. And it got to the point where she emailed me one day out of the blue after about 2 weeks and said, hey, you have given me so much information for free. How can I hire you? And you know what I had to say? I had to say to her, okay, hold on, give me a week because I need to figure out what I can even sell and what's a fair price for both of us. So let's schedule a call a week from now and talk about it. Does that sound good? And she said yes. And because we'd had that back and forth, right? She was able to basically say, okay, great, this sounds good. Even though I wasn't amazing at sales or marketing and I was so nervous, because we'd done the things that mattered, had that conversation, built that trust, she was ready to hire me. And I want you to notice all I did, it's work, right? But it's not like I was doing everything under the sun. I wasn't working on my website. I wasn't trying to be on every social media account. I wasn't trying to set up a complicated funnel. I just sat down and said, okay, this is how I'm doing it. I'm just focusing on a few core activities that generate momentum for me. And that is all I'm doing. Right, which leads me to my final tip, which is to focus on just a few core activities. And it really ties into what I said a second ago about momentum generating activities. Because here's the thing, when you are building a business, especially when you are starting out, you don't have a ton of time, you don't have a ton of motivation, you don't have a ton of confidence that what you even want is possible. So what you need to do is you need to basically, I don't want to say trick yourself, but you need to basically make it as easy for yourself as possible by building quick wins that make you feel like, oh, I got a little bit of proof that this is possible. So for me, those quick wins were, oh my gosh, someone liked my comment or someone liked my post. That's a huge win. They didn't even comment on it, but they liked it. Someone read it and liked it. Okay, yeah, it's happening. Then someone commented and it was another quick win, right? Then I had a conversation with someone, even bigger quick win. Someone asked me if they could hire me, better and better and better. And it built up to, oh man, I got my first paying client. Yes, right? And I want you to notice I did things that gave me feedback to help me get those quick wins. And I only focused on a few core activities that would do that. So in the beginning, what did that look like? And what I've recommended this for thousands of students at this point. It works. 3 things. And this is assuming, by the way, that you've got your offer down and you know your audience. If not, make sure that you check out my videos on identifying your audience, your niche, your target market, all of that. I've got a whole bunch of videos on that as well. But aside from that, what you need to be doing is getting in front of your audience every single day, consistently, at least during the weekday, right? And as I shared earlier, that can take just a few minutes. Making sure that you do that. Making sure that you share good content. And what do I mean? I mean, don't just be sharing fun motivational posts or fun personality posts. Yes, there's a time and place for all of that. But especially when you're starting out, you need to be showing the world, hey, I know what it is that I'm talking about. Because if you don't show that, no matter how cool you are, how likable you are, who's going to want to be hiring you, right? So make sure that you do that. And then third of all, make sure that you're actually engaging with people. When people ask you questions, respond. When they like your post, when they comment on it and say, hey, this was really great, thanks, respond, say thank you. When you see people asking questions related to what you do, answer that. Don't just post and expect people to just like randomly find you and be like, oh, this post was so amazing, I need to work with you. You've got to build that engagement as well. That is just as important, if not more so. If you're focusing on just those 3 core activities in one place, find one place where you can connect with your audience online and do those core activities consistently. If you do that for 2, 3, 4 weeks on your calendar every day using everything that we just talked about, you are going to see so much momentum. It is going to blow your mind, right? Again, this is caveating that you've done the right things in the right way, which I talk about in all my other videos. So again, make sure you check that out. I've got a whole library for you. But if you're doing that and you're being super consistent, then you are going to get results that you never even dreamed of. You're going to have people who are like, even if they don't buy from you, there are people who are recommending you when people are asking for recommendations for whatever it is you do. You are going to have people who are liking and commenting on your posts all the time, more and more and more. And of course, you're going to have people reaching out and talking about asking about how they can potentially hire you. And so this is where it all starts. And again, notice, except for the first tip where I said, look, you're going to be motivated sometimes. Use that to prepare for all the other times when you're not going to be motivated. None of these other things rely on motivation, right? Which is good because it means that it's something that you can do right now and consistently and in a way that kind of creates the best situation possible for yourself to get the best results, and which does, by the way, creates more motivation. Because if you're seeing people liking your stuff, then you're going to be more motivated to go out there and put out more great stuff, right? So it's a snowball effect if you do the things that I just talked through. It's worked for, at this point, thousands of my students and clients. It's what I personally used to build a six-figure business before I left my job. So give it a try. If you stick with it for just a few weeks, you are going to be blown away by the results. Okay, so I've got two other really great things for you today. One is another really amazing training on how to continue to be motivated even after you're rejected, because that's a really big one, right? You might be feeling good, but then maybe you put out a post, no one responds, or you get on a sales call and that person is like, oh, not the right time or not the right price. That can be a massive killer to your motivation. So make sure you check out the video that I have for you, either somewhere on the screen and or linked in the description below, on how to continue to be motivated after rejection, how to actually turn rejection into your secret weapon for getting even more motivated. You're gonna love that video, so make sure you check that out. And then I have a really great PDF for you on the high-level overview for how to build a six-figure online coaching business, as well as the top 3 mistakes to avoid that I see all the time with new entrepreneurs wanting to go from employee to entrepreneur with their own coaching business. So really, really make sure that you check that out as well. And again, to get access to that PDF, you can either click the link somewhere on the screen and or linked in the description below. So go off, do that, enjoy, and let me know how it all goes for you. If you are new to my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you're notified each week when I release a brand new video on building your own online business and going from employee to entrepreneur. That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.